How is everyone today? Welcome to Upfront with Frank Rothstein on Sky's Crescent Radio, SKYES, crescentradio.com. Sitting with me as always, and today wearing a green t-shirt that says clutter, must be referring to her closet. It is, of course, Jade Zabrick. We're doing something a little bit new these days. We are not live. We are Memorex. We're experimenting with the with me and the recorded version. So if you hear little chopping sounds in the editing of all this, that'll be me restarting and trying to get it intelligent, as opposed to me just going along, singing my song, and telling you all those things that I love to tell you about. It is an interesting week, and all the things I'd like to talk about now, none of them are important. At least none of them are on the front page of the news, which really was the way I started with a lot of the show, which was when I first, wow, 4.5 years ago. Yeah, wow, just about. Let me see. Yeah, coming up in 4.5 years. Um, I really always wanted to get away from the front page. So just picture reading a newspaper and starting off on page 8 or 9. That's where I like to start, where the interesting stuff is. That's why if I could find interestingnews.com or notontheheadlines.com, I would be a service member. But there are some interesting things going on, and one of them, well, we all know our New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo is in. Well, he sort of needs a taller ladder to get out of this one. A third woman has come forth. I guess I never really used that word, forth, um, to accuse him of sexual harassment or sexual uh, inappropriate behavior. I'm not sure exactly. I forgot what word she used. But either way, it's now the third one, and he's still on in a little bit on the deep end with his coronavirus problems of, I guess, hiding the bodies. So we're not sure what's gonna happen over there. Right now, I think he needs a little bit of taller boots because he's standing in the middle of it. There are people, there are Democrats looking for him to resign. I don't know how that's gonna work, if he's gonna do that or not. Um, but one of the stories I was reading was, if you look at CNN, Chris Cuomo, his younger brother, and I didn't realize how big Andrew Cuomo is because Chris Cuomo is a lot smaller, but that's another story. Um, Normally, before COVID, he didn't really interview his brother too much, at least over if it was something wasn't that I remember anything serious. During the COVID, when this is all going on, and everyone was having conferences every 20 minutes, yes, he did. And it became a thing where after they're talking about the day's events and what's going on, they'd start having fun at each other's expense. Well, for a while it was amusing, but that sort of wore out. But with this, CNN has decided that Chris Cuomo cannot cover this story. And I sort of understand that. And he shouldn't want to cover it. It's his brother. What is he going to do? It's his brother. It's not much, and it wouldn't be fair because when it hits the fan, it's still his brother, and you're not sure that you're going to get every last bit out of Chris Cuomo on it. He may not want to nail his brother to it, if he finds something out. So, in all fairness, I think it's a very correct decision on CNN and Chris Cuomo's part not to cover this story. The other shows around it will. Yeah, if you go into the 8 o'clock show, the 7 o'clock show. Matter of fact, when you're dealing with CNN, when they say breaking news, you could be eating breakfast and they'll tell you breaking news at dinner time. It's the same story, but they will cover it, but not Chris Cuomo. I think it's a correct decision. And I compare it like in well, it's not exactly an accurate comparison, but when you see like boxing, like boxers, they when their brothers are fighting, they don't fight each other. They're both professionals, they could both be champions, but they don't face each other because they don't want to hit their brother. They don't want to take a chance on hurting their brother. And there's been a lot of sets of siblings in boxing. The Spinks brothers, the Klitschko brothers, the Bear brothers from the 1930s. Um, Now you have the Charlo brothers, but historically, there's been many sets of brothers fighting, and they don't fight each other for good reason. And I go with that with the one, which is why Chris Cuomo should not cover it for good reason. Even if he does the right thing and covers it, it could hurt his brother and it'll affect his family. And I think that's a perfect way of handling it. This one show, out of all the others on television, does not cover it. Next story. I didn't know where else to start with, so I started with that. Um, let's get to something really stupid, please, because I need it. And this had happened earlier in the week. Well, anyway, everybody sees Silence of the Lambs. Jodie Foster, all that. Uh, the house where Buffalo Bill lived is becoming a bed and breakfast. Yes, it is. It's becoming a bed and breakfast. Lotion not included. It's first. Well, it says, however, Silence of the Lambs fans will soon be able to stay in the dimly lit, wallpapered house where Buffalo Bill skinned his victims in the 1991 hit movie starring Jodie Foster, Anthony Hopkins, and Ted Levine. New York theatrical art director Chris Rowan purchased the home for $290,000 on January 28th and plans to convert it into a quaint bed and breakfast. I would think it would have cost more than $290,000, but that's another subject. The investment comes as the movie turns 30. Wow, that went fast. And Silence spinoff and CBS series Clarice is embraced by some fans. So they're turning the house into a bed and breakfast. And I keep remembering the scene where he has his supposed next victim in the well in the basement. You remember the girl who finally got hold of the dog? And he puts in that little basket he was lowering in lotion, body lotion. And all he said, like she's not there, like he's reading, like he's narrating, she applies lotion to her skin. She applies lotion to the body. And all she's doing is crying for the phone, crying for this. And suddenly screams, put on that fucking lotion. Anyway, I'm looking at this story. And all I could think of is she applies syrup to the pancakes. This is what I'm thinking over here. It's a decent looking house. It'll need a paint job, but okay. But that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm picturing. She's applying syrup to the pancakes. If you've never seen Silence of the Lambs, it's a great movie. It really is. But this to me, it'll be a good business. I know. But wow, I wouldn't want to stay there. And I certainly, if I did, would want to tour the basement where the well is. I want to see this set. So anyway, it's also a very big house. Because if you remember the movie, if there's any truth to the house as compared to what they made the set on, if they use the actual house, that's a big house. That really is. The basement alone could be someone's home. But wow, okay. Apply syrup to the pancakes and pay your fee, then you can go home tomorrow, I hope. This is like checking into something if I saw on the side of the road, Bates Motel. I wouldn't want to go into a place called the Bates Motel. I wouldn't want to check into the place if they bought the hotel from the Psycho movie and said, this is now your bed and breakfast. No, no, no. I'm not showering there either. Well, I'm a guy, I could shower. I wouldn't let any woman shower there. Oh, well, Norman Bates and Buffalo Bill. Those are two good characters. Okay. Next, what else is going on? According to CNN, this is actually from the 23rd, but I like this story because it feeds right into what I'm talking about, and I hope I didn't mention it last week. This is from the 23rd, yeah. A solar panel in space is collecting energy that could one day be beamed to anywhere on Earth. If this is not my thing, I don't know what is. And this is why I love technology. And this is why I think it's all interesting when you get away from how many different games you can play or how many different apps you can download. And speaking of apps, I'll get to a good story about that in a little while. But it says here, scientists working for the Pentagon have successfully tested a solar panel the size of a pizza box in space, designed as a prototype for a future system to send electricity from space back to any point on Earth. I like that. I'm not quite sure at this moment what the direct use would be, but it will come in handy. I'm all for it. Says the panel, known as the photovoltaic radio frequency antenna module, PRAM, was first launched in May of last year, attached to the Pentagon's X-37B unmanned drone. To harness light from the sun to convert directly to energy, the drone is looping Earth every 90 minutes. That is fast. Very Star Trek. And of course, the photovoltaic, I have to get used to saying that word, direct current to radio. Wait, this computer's skipping. The photovoltaic, the radio frequency antenna module. Okay, got that. This computer just jumped all over me. Well, I may be recording the show, but I'm doing it live, and live does happen. It's just best to make use of light and space, which doesn't pass through the atmosphere and so retains the energy of blue waves, making it more powerful than sunlight to reach that reaches Earth. Blue light diffuses on entry into the atmosphere, which is why the sky appears blue. Listen, I think this is great. I really do. This is technology I could use. Now, as of yet, the unit has not had to send power directly to Earth, but everything's a work in progress. And if this works out in time of any kind of crisis, go NASA. That's what I got to say. Go NASA. I may not have to carry flashlights anymore. Wow. Cool. Cool. Another story I'm reading. Got this from the New York Times, which says the golden age of free stuff is upon us. It's a New York City story. The pandemic has spawned an enormous wave of items tossed out in the New York City streets, including kitchen sinks, Korean wedding chest, and a Tiffany bracelet. That's got to be a mistake. No one is voluntarily throwing out a Tiffany bracelet. This is from the 24th. Let me see. On the Upper East Side of Manhattan, it was chandeliers, a Tiffany bracelet, and a vintage velvet chair with the silver-colored ram's heads. In Jackson Heights, Queens, it was a Korean wedding chest, and in Park Slope, Brooklyn, a giant stiletto chair with purple zebra pattern. Ugh. All of these were remarkably free. Pretty much what's going on is people leaving Manhattan. I walked out of the house today. I had to walk up 6th Avenue. I had to do a few things today. And the streets were dead. The streets were dead. And this is what's happening. People, and people are picking them up because some of the things you find on the street, which the sanitation workers knew and the junk dealers know, people throw out perfectly good stuff, some of it very nice, and others pick it up. They clean it up as needed. They refurbish it as needed, and then they sell it. That's what the junk business is. But this is what's happening. People are leaving. And again, I don't know how the bracelet got in there, but okay. I'm sorry I didn't find it. But it's not just people leaving and you lose the old refrigerator or the old air conditioner. People are throwing out perfectly good items, all their stuff they don't want to take with them. Because when you think about the cost of moving, depending on where they're moving to, compared to the cost of buying some new stuff, it may not be that much different, and now you'll have new. But yeah, people are leaving Manhattan very fast. It is quite quiet here. I do a lot of business in the Soho area. I go up into the 50s to do business. I've gone to the Lower East Side to do business. And there are times when you could walk around 8 o'clock at night and think it's 4 in the morning. So yeah, this is happening a lot in a lot of areas. And especially if you're in the junk business, if you're in the salvage business, come to Manhattan. You'll find plenty of stuff. Now, this particular couch looks pretty nasty, even if it was brand new. And it looks like a red velvet couch. It looks like it's all frayed up and destroyed. I don't know who'd want it, but someone put out, looks like a paper shredder. I'm looking at it, still works, almost new. These are the nonsense items. But yeah, I'm looking at some of the furniture, some of things you would find, and then there are some items that are better than you would expect. But that is what's going on. That really is. Manhattan is extremely quiet as of late. Uh, hmm. Then I'm reading a story from England, of course, the BBC. The University of Liverpool offers a master's degree in the Fab Four. That is a master's degree in the Beatles. It says fans of the Beatles are invited to study for a master's degree in the Fab Four at the University of Liverpool. Students on the Beatles music industry and heritage master's course will learn about the group's influence on popular music and culture. Its program leader says, okay, Dr. Holly Tesler said it was unique because it explored the band's legacy. Well, the Beatles did influence a lot of people. They were also influenced by a lot of people. You know, before they were, when they were still kids and they were the Beatles, they were coming together as musicians. And even before they were the group, they worshiped everyone from America. Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Chet Atkins, all of the people that were starting in the very beginning of rock. And even before, I'm sure Sister Rosetta Tharpe was in there. I'm sure there were a lot of other people that influenced how they made their music. Little Richard, I said, uh, blues musicians throughout time. These are the people they were listening to. So if the Beatles are around 60 years ago, they're all like 80 now, 65 years ago and earlier, they're listening to somebody, you know, everybody listened to somebody. So yeah. And now, as the Beatles, they're writing their music. They have influenced many. And in England, you can get a degree in this subject. Now, I'm not quite sure what you would do with this degree, except when you go music shopping. But by now, most people know all the songs. But if you want to study, everything they did, how they constructed a song, the lyrics, as musicians, I'm sure they understand how the chords and the notes are put together. But if you want to study the lyrics, and the poetry and the lyrics of some songs, the political aspects of their other songs, or I really like of all the songs in my life, uh, Nowhere Man's a great song. If you want to just kick back and sing, All Together Now is a good song. I've gone to see Ringo Starr and his all-star band, I don't know how many times. I guess at the time when I first started, for the privilege of seeing Ringo Starr play drums. Not that any other drummer couldn't have done it, but you want to see Ringo do it. And that's what I got. And the show itself, his all-star band is pretty good. It's sold on the premise of all his old rocker friends that come into the group in the various gatherings, and people who one musician's out, another one's in. You know the songs, you just don't know who sang them, but they're all good songs. And then you realize, yeah, I know that one. Yeah, yeah, you know. And excuse me, it's not like a big show with lights and smoke and dancers. They're just old rockers doing their thing on stage. It's low. I'll put it as low cost, high production quality. It's just good musicians, great musicians doing their thing without smoke mirrors and dancers all around them. And I don't know how much auto tune is being used. I don't know if there's any real lip syncing going on. I don't know what's going on there, but I don't believe that Ringo Starr needs lip syncing. Um, but again, if you get a chance, it's great. George Harrison really learned how to write music well from Paul McCartney and John Lennon, and he went on to write some of the most beautiful songs you're ever going to hear. Frank Sinatra always said he enjoyed singing the song Something, George Harrison's Something. because it is the only song that he really knew of that could convey the message, how it could tell somebody just how they felt without ever having to say the words "I love you." And he enjoyed singing that song. And he really is. You know, most George Harrison songs are really something to listen to. Um, so yeah, go get a degree in the Beatles. If they offer it online, grab it. I don't know what job you're going to get taking it, but hey, it's the Beatles. What else is going on? Let's get to something a little more ridiculous while we're at it. Shifting gears radically, going from like fourth to first. Some things you just don't, you got to sort of see the picture of to get it, but okay. Of course, I got this from the New York Post, which picks up other news feeds, which is why I enjoy using the Post. Of course, this is in Australia, where you've often heard me say some of my best, stupidest, craziest things either happen in Australia or Florida. An Australian freediver has social media in sophomoric stitches after sharing a picture of a bizarre penis-shaped creature on Facebook. Seems to bring out a lot of happiness, wrote Josie Jones, 48, about in a picture of a fish. And if you don't think it doesn't look like, yes, it does. It looks like a penis, but okay. It's what he put up on social media. And what they call it, the biologist called it a marine manhood, is in fact, I want to get this word right, Priapodilia. No, excuse me, Priapodilida. Excuse me, I got it. A type of unsegmented worm that resides at the bottom of the ocean, and that's according to Earth Life. Named after Priapus, well, let me scroll down, the Greek god of male generative power. The Priap, this is like a tongue twister for me. The Priapolin's resemblance to the phallus becomes all the more evident given the penchant for discharging its eggs and sperm into the sea. All righty then. All righty then. That's the story on that one. But that is just what it looks like. Matter of fact, in the group picture of some of these things, they sort of look like other things too. But okay, that's just what it is. I don't know why I had to read it, but I felt the need to read it. Okay. What can I say? Here's an idiot walking around. A woman uses her own thong as a mask after nearly being kicked out of a store. And it says, don't get caught with your pants down, unless, of course, you need a face mask in a jiffy. A woman in South Africa avoided getting thrown out of a Pick and Pay supermarket by using her panties as a mask. Smartphone camera footage obtained a newsflash caught on the bizarre interaction in which the store guard asked the maskless woman who was waiting with her cart of groceries in the checkout line to put on a face mask or leave the store. Having no mask handy, and I'm assuming she didn't want to buy a quick mask or just, she pulled it down. She pulled down her thong, her underwear, and she put it on her face. And that's the mask. And I guess they let her stay. I think it's ridiculous myself, but she said in a sarcastic way, happy. And of course, someone else, people on the camera can be heard, well, one said, good Lord, the other one was rooting for her. What was it? In the meantime, another shopper standing in line directly behind the no pants woman encouraged the stunt. Okay, that's what it says. It says, well, personally, I find it acceptable. It is a mask. And quite frankly, I think the bacteria on your knickers is less than on the mask. Okay, there you go. That's being creative. Thinking on your feet. Okie dokie. Let's take a break from these stories for a second. They get ridiculous every week. I can't. This is why I find it so amusing going. The only useful story we have so far this week is a pizza box uh, absorbing power and space as a solar panel to send it back to Earth. Everything else I've been reading, it's to me amusing nonsense. Although I do like the Beatles. You can get a degree in the Beatles. So, so if I can work in the Paul division of your company, I want my pay. And I guess that's the only thing you can do with it. Oh man, how was everyone's week this week? Well, we may not be able to go live at the moment. So if you call, it won't help because I can't help me. But you can email me at upfrontfrank@gmail.com, upfrontfrank@gmail.com. And that way you can tell me what you're thinking. And if you have anything good to say, I didn't say positive. I don't mind a little drama and negativity. I'll be happy to trade curses out. We'll curse each other. That's okay. But we can trade it and tell me what you think. Tell me what subjects are interesting you. I want to know what you are interested in. I want to know what's going on in your life. I want to know how you're staying sane. And believe me, people still have to find ways of staying sane, even though I keep seeing the restaurants are opening little by little. What are we up to, 33% now? Something like that. And yet I'm looking at all the local places, and they're empty. Well, there's a good reason for that. Going back to the New York Times story, people are leaving. Now, there are certain neighborhoods that are still busy. I know that, well, if you're in New York, I know Brooklyn and Queens are very busy because that's where people went. They can afford it better. But if you're in Manhattan, yeah, only certain neighborhoods are, you know, you could now dance in the middle of Times Square and not get hit by a car. Except I'm still sort of confused as to why whenever I cross the street anywhere I go, I have to wait for the cars to go by, and there's plenty of them. I'm not really sure about that. But that's what's going on. Whenever I go to cross the street, there's cars keeping me from just going. But that's okay. I chalk it up on the list of things that confuse me. The same as no matter what direction I'm facing, the wind is hitting me in the face. I'm not quite sure how that works out, but yes, I went out yesterday and today, and no matter which direction I'm facing, I'm getting it in the face. So maybe if one of you can write into me and explain this, I want to know what this is. Um, Not even the Wizard of Oz can tell me what this is. Oh, by the way, they're thinking of redoing the Wizard of Oz. Some movies should never be touched. That's just what it is. Some movies should never be touched. That's one of them. I can tell you Casablanca is another one. I can tell you a lot of other movies that you will never see remade. I wouldn't, there's a lot of them that should not be remade. I have a whole list of them. But yes, they're thinking of making a remake of The Wizard of Oz. Maybe that old rickety house from Kansas will become a condo somewhere, dropping on some big building on the Wicked Witch of the East. So that's what's going on. But yeah, someone write in and tell me why the wind's always hitting me in the face. I'd be really happy about that. Let's get into some good news for a second. What is this here? What am I looking at? Oh, okay, here it is. This is sort of a good story. I got this in Time Out magazine on the 26th, from the 26th. And it seems that at Lincoln Center, if you're in New York City, you know Lincoln Center, a giant outdoor performing arts center is opening this April, which means in a month and a half. And it says, as part of the much discussed New York Arts Revival Project, the Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts just announced its plans to create a giant outdoor performing arts center that will include 10 different performances and rehearsal spaces. Cool. Dubbed Restart Stages, the effort was crafted with the help of medical and public health professionals, ensuring that all staff and future audiences will be protected from, of course, COVID-19. That's good. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't guess it. Ask to keep professionals in mind. It says the cultural community has an urgent role to play in the revitalization of New York to showcase that our city is not just back economically, but spiritually and socially. which is why we knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that as the city reopened, it was our absolute obligation to and privilege to be the first in line to support our constituents, New Yorkers, and the cultural community, and that is according to Henry Timms. Um, I'm not quite sure of the layout, but Lincoln Center has a lot of property. It says the initiative will officially kick off on April 7th, excuse me. And it says that, and someone sent me a message. Okay. It says it will kick off on April 7th with a special performance for healthcare workers. New Yorkers can expect a varied performing slate, including concert and cabaret series by the Lincoln Center and Chamber Music Society. Basically, whether they're getting back into business and they're going to find a way to do it. And that is how most places, most venues for entertainment of any kind will have to do it. It's time to, I guess, to punch your way through and figure out how to do it. Because if you're waiting for the state to tell you, who by its needs to be extremely conservative, it's time for people to figure it out. So yes, hire people who in healthcare who can tell you what you need in order to get your venue prepared to have an audience. Now, indoor theaters are not open yet, but Lincoln Center going to the outdoors, I think it's a great idea. They have plenty of space to do it, and good for them. And when there's a show that's ready to go that I want to see, I'll be there. Good for them. Let's look at this. There's a thought of doing a sequel to the Birdcage. Have any of you seen the Birdcage? That was with Robin Williams, Nathan Lane, Hank Azaria. It's the film version of the old play La Cage aux Folles, and there's thought of making a sequel to it. And it says here, let's see. It says here that in the preview from the 100th episode of the Last Laugh podcast, Nathan Lane reveals his hopes for the follow-up classic of the comedy film, to the comedy film, and why Hank Azaria, who played their maid, butler, their housekeeper, Agador Spartacus, if you remember him, he was great in the movie. And it says, if fans of the Birdcage ever actually get a sequel, we will have Nathan Lane's newfound love for podcasts to thank. And it says, with a lot of extra time on his hands of staying home over the past year, Lane decided to check out a 2018 episode of the podcast, Beyond the Box Set, in which two British hosts pitched sequels that nobody asked for films they love. It was titled The Birdcage, Starina Rides Again. If you remember, Nathan Lane played Robin Williams' lover, and as the stage persona of Starina, when he a drag queen star in Florida. And one of the problems is Nathan Lane is all for it. Hank Azaria is sort of staying away. Hank Azaria sort of gave up one of the voices from his work on The Simpsons that he did for 20 years as one of the voices. What was he, Abu? And he's sort of the idea that as what's going on now in entertainment is, or at least in film, is that a non, because of inclusion, because of this or that a non-gay actor should not play a gay character. That's Hank Azaria's concern. Even though they were all great in their roles. Now they have to figure out a storyline because Robin Williams is gone, but you can always write it. You can always figure out a storyline if you really need to. Um, but Hank Azaria is not for it because, well, he's not gay, and he's not sure that in today's audience climate way of thinking, that it would be appropriate for him to play it. Nathan Lane is of the idea that this is getting a bit ridiculous. Nathan Lane is gay. Nathan Lane thinks that it's a bit ridiculous. And one of the examples he gave was, should Meryl Streep never act again because she's not allowed to do accents? Can she never play someone who's Polish again because she's not Polish? Uh, so pretty much you're saying, what's the thought of Hollywood is, and I talked about this a while ago with the new inclusion rule for the Academy Awards, which is if you're looking to be included in Best Film category, you have to have an inclusion of in the main characters, in the directors, and everyone should be included. Now that's only for the Best Film category. It doesn't include everyone else in the other categories. So Best Documentary, no. Want to make a simple romantic comedy? No. But in the case of the Birdcage, you had one gay actor, one gay man, two, for lack of a better word, straight men, heterosexual men, straight men, Robin Williams and Hank Azaria. They were brilliant in this movie. It's funny. Gene Hackman came in, who is 90 years old now, by the way, I believe. Gene Hackman was playing the senator, the future uh, prospective father-in-law of Robin Williams' son, and Robin Williams' son is straight, but it's just a whole good story. But in the end, there's Gene Hackman in drag, trying to get out of a drag club. It's just a good movie. As it is, it was a great movie. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. But I would hate to see actors become afraid to do their jobs because they are not gay, they are gay, they're too tall, they're too short, they're fat, whatever reason. I would hate to see actors being unable to practice their craft because of a certain way of thinking out there. I don't like to use that term. That sounds so cheap. But a limited way of thinking. Because again, in terms of this movie, if there is a sequel, Hank Azaria is perfect in the role, as is Nathan Lane. And then they work the story based on the original, and they adjust it to fit modern time, a current story. And if somebody wants to remake it, well, La Cage aux Folles has been around a long time. I don't have the exact date of when it first opened, but it's been remade so many times. The film itself, I have to look up the exact date of the Birdcage. But yeah, if you want to add on to it a sequel, yeah, why not? Pick it up where they are, and I would I would prefer to see Hank in his role. And Nathan Lane would too, I believe. I believe that's why I'm reading this. But anyway, that's the story of that. And going along as we always do, things are going okay. Things are going okay. Let me turn back my screen and check in with Jade. Jade's still wearing a green t-shirt. Her exercise ball is in the room again. She's not sitting on it. She got tired of bouncing and doing the tech work. It's tough to find the right button to push when you're going up and down and up and down and up and down. It just doesn't work. It's not as easy. So she's sitting in a real chair again. It's a 3:45. Wow. Yeah, well, I'm taping at 3 in the afternoon. This will air at 5. I'm not going to try to fool you like you see on late night television where it airs at 11:30, but it's really 5 in the afternoon, and they're trying to tell you it's a quarter to midnight. It's just not really the case. But yeah, we are taping now at 3 in the afternoon. I am going live. I'm recording live, not before a studio audience. Maybe I'll get one day. And this is what's going on. Um, as are the other hosts on the station. We are all recording now. It's just a little bit of a, we're experimenting. We're seeing if it works out better. Worst comes to worst, best comes to best. Either way, we can always go live again if necessary. Um, excuse me. And again, if you'd like to try this yourself, give it a thought. When you're taping, you get to do 32 takes of one sentence. You can get it right if you want. I think it's sort of losing something, but okay. If you want to have take 6 of you saying hello, write into us at skiescrescentradio@gmail.com. Give it a shot. See what goes on. Someone will get back to you with short order. That's easy enough. And who knows what you may come up with. Everyone should be heard. Not just to sit there and tell everyone in the world how angry you are. Feel free to tell us how happy you are. Even in COVID, even in all this, there's something you've been happy about at some point in time. You found a reason to laugh at one thing or another. Something had to simply roll off the back. It doesn't make a difference. Not everything's a hanging offense. It's perfectly okay to hear something that sounds really bad, but find something else within it to laugh at. I do it all the time. There is one wormy thing I heard, that's going around this week is what I do not laugh at. Did you know that our former president, who swore that he was never going to wear a mask, who swore that the virus is a hoax, that's the word he used, hoax, where after he got it said, don't let it ruin your life, don't let it control your life, that in January he was vaccinated, him and his wife. It wasn't made as a press release like you saw President Biden do. He got on television, he rolled up his sleeve, he got a shot like so many other people did. They sat in the chair, someone stabbed them in the arm with the vaccination, and that was it. Like any other injection you get, took 2 seconds. Not our president. Maybe it's because you have to see him wearing that badly fitting suit in its complete way. Maybe it's because, I don't know, maybe he's got freckles on his arms. Maybe, I don't know what the problem is. But either way, we did not get to see that. Our then fearless leader, not leading by example, not doing anything that could make people feel better about what's going on. He did it in private and didn't tell a soul. Word had gotten out in January, but now it's on the press now. CNN talked about it last night and the day before, which if they tell you about it today, it'll say breaking news because we read it 3 days ago. And that's our president in action, or our then president in action. Yeah, then he did it. Not now, but then. So anyway, let me take a look because there's always something to talk about. There really is. There's always something to talk about. And a lot of times I forget some of the stories because, here's one that's, oh, well, I don't know, I'm not sure if you heard, it's like I'm babbling. And believe it or not, I trip over my own tongue all the time. And no, I am not doing a take 2 to get it right. I find you lose a lot doing that. One is, if you heard it today, that 6 Dr. Seuss books will not be published over racist imagery. Let me get that one because this follows a long line of things that are being stricken from the record. The company that oversees the publishing of Dr. Seuss children's books says it will stop selling 6 of his titles because they contain racist and insensitive images. Dr. Seuss Enterprises, which is charged with preserving and protecting the beloved author's legacy, said it scrapped the books because they portray people in ways that are hurtful and wrong. Let me scroll down a bit and get to the list. The list of books which Dr. Seuss Enterprises is taking off the market. If I ran the zoo and to think I saw it on Mulberry Street, McElligot's Pool, on Beyond Zebras, Scrambled Eggs and Scrambled Egg Supper, and the Cat's Quizzer. I never heard of these. I really did. Like most people, I just know, when I think of a Dr. Seuss phrase, I think of like things like green eggs and ham, or Sam I Am, things like that. but what is it? But it's not exactly incorrect as to what people are saying. Let's see. Oh, in the book, And to Think I Saw It on Mulberry Street includes a drawing of a Chinese man with slits for eyes. Okay. Let me scroll down. I'll give you the example that's being written up here. Let's see. If I ran the zoo, African characters are drawn to look like monkeys. Oh, yes, they are. If I ran the zoo also features an Arab chieftain riding a camel. Well, I sort of gotta question that one. If he's an Arab chieftain from way back when, putting him on a camel may not be the worst idea, but okay, I understand. If I ran the zoo, for instance, has been banned for okay, for depicting Africans as pot-bellied and thick-lipped as okay, well that's got to go. But these are the types of things that are being looked at. But and it's not like it hasn't been discussed before. I'm just now when it has become, and I'm not describing right or wrong. I want people to understand. Just because I talk about it, or I don't believe every last thing I hear. I don't accept every last thing I that people tell me. I never do in anything. I don't just do anything. But I'm wondering why now. And the only thing I can think of is because this has been discussed with a lot of dis, discussion, I guess. Yeah, it's been discussed for years, for decades. That now it's become politically correct to do these things because 10 years ago, no one removed them. The stories are old, but nobody removed them. Now they're being removed. Just as now Hank Azaria is not playing Agathos Spartacus. Now is a lot of other things you're reading. But if Dr. Seuss wants to, the company wants to pull 6 of their books from the market, I'm pretty sure no one's going to miss it that much because believe it or not, I'm sure they're well written. I am sure they have that Dr. Seuss melody and in the tone, the way Dr. Seuss always phrases everything. Um, but there'll be other books. There are other books to choose from. And, it's the way it is. It's the way it is now. But then, as I was saying a couple of years ago at Bowling Green State University, when they renamed the Gish Theater because Lillian Gish at the time was in Birth of a Nation 104 years prior. I thought that was a little bit ridiculous. There's a new kid born every day. I want to pull the book. Go ahead, pull the book. It is coming up on time. Let's see. Yeah, it is coming up on time. Wow. Let me see this. Here's an idiot. This is an idiot. I'd rather keep Dr. Seuss than this woman working at schools teaching kids. And let me get this right as I take a drink of water and the story loads in my computer. Because this is a woman in California, a teacher, who makes anti-Asian gesture during a Zoom class. And let me get this right because I want to get it because this is important. Teachers should know better. A California high school teacher is under fire for making a quote shocking anti-Asian gesture during a Zoom class last week. Nicole Burkett, a Spanish teacher and advisor for the class of 2022 at Sacramento's Grant Union High School, is shown on video intentionally narrowing her eyes during an online class last week, according to local reports. That's just what it says. And and I quote her quote. I'm quoting her right now. If your eyes go up, you're Chinese, and she makes the gesture, pulling her eyes up. If they go down, they're Japanese, pulling her eyes down. If they're just straight, you don't know. I don't know where she got this from, but you can hear one kid saying, I should leave your class right now. And of course, since they're high school kids, the parents are jumping in there also. So, Twin Rivers United School District spokesperson Zenobia Gerald called the video shocking and disappointing, adding that the district has opened a probe. I would have, if I run the school district, if I run their board of education, whoever has authority over this matter, I would simply say, you're fired, get out. I don't need a probe. There's your probe. I'm looking at a video. There's your probe. Out. But you want, people want decisive maneuvers, decisive decisions. People want things handled properly. There it is. Handled. Oh, well, let's see what else is going on. And we're going to round out before I sing my song and bow out gracefully. The first ever, if you're looking for a place to go on vacation in the future, not this year, but say in 2027, the first ever space hotel is slated to be operational by 2027. That's the headline. An out of this world hotel is just a few years away from becoming a reality. This decade will see the start of and completion of the construction on humanity's first hotel in outer space. And that is from a group called Orbital Assembly. There you go. 3-year-old company plans to begin building Voyager station in low Earth orbit in 2025 and believe its interstellar resort may be operational as soon as 2027. Well, good. Maybe they'll use the solar panel the size of a pizza box in space to power the place. And it looks like a big wheel. A big, big wheel. Looks like a bicycle wheel, actually. Well, anyway, guests won't be paying for the only novelty of the setting. There will be a slew of onboard amenities, including themed restaurants, health spa, gyms, cinema, libraries, concert venues. Okay, you got it. And addition rooms for 400 people. And this is interesting. I'm looking at this picture because it's space and the gravity it's even in low Earth. The gravity is a different situation. If you have any gravity, the wheel itself is not flat up against Earth. It's sort of almost like a tire on the ground. It's perpendicular. So it's just, is that the word? Is that the one I'm using? It's sort of like a wheel that looks like it's going to ride on the Earth. But that's okay in space. You can do what you want because gravity is different. You can do anything you want. You go out far enough. There is no gravity. You could be upside down, sideways, any way you want. You're in space. So, okay, you want to go to the spa and take a look at the Earth, and I don't know what it's going to cost, but do they give an estimation? Let me get the room looks nice, a bit beige in the rendition of what they're offering, but okay. I don't see what the price is yet because I guess it's too soon to tell. And that's what's going on. So when I go to Club Med Earth, that's where I will be going. Sitting there in space, singing Space Odyssey to myself. Calling up my travel agent saying, who's going to tell me my circuit's dead and something's wrong? Oh, well. People, it's about the hour. Pretty much, wow, me talking for an hour straight. Look at that. Wow, with only a 30-second glitch. Look at me go. Who knew I could ramble? Well, when I first came on this show, I wasn't sure I could do it. And the guy who signed me up we call him Johnny Mandolin. His name is John Anello, musician. And he'd interviewed me first and asked me, what I thought. I said, well, I have no training. I don't know what to do. I never did it before. He says, well, listen, you don't need too much training. He says, you're from New York. Everyone can tell a story from New York. And he was, in a way, he was right. It took me a little while to get comfortable. I'm still trying to get comfortable. I think I'm speaking a little smoother than I used to. Sometimes I'm tripping all over myself, especially when I say my own last name, because with that TH in there, it becomes like a tongue twister. But hopefully I'm getting a little better at it. Well, without music, I get to do a little more of it. And I'll be thinking about what to talk about next week. Oh no, the pressure. In the meantime, oh, and before I leave, before I leave, how many of you are finding a speedy, quick, efficient process to getting an appointment for a vaccine? Yes, if you're 150, you could walk right in and get it. But now the state law in New York says if you're over 16 with an underlying condition, you're eligible. Except when you go to the New York City Vaccine Finder site, newyorkcity.gov/vaccine finder, and you enter in your zip code, whatever, you're in New York. Good luck, because most of the places on this site is either Walgreens that owns Duane Reade, so it's Walgreens, Duane Reade, Rite Aid, and this is pretty much the vast majority of locations listed. And when I enter in the information, you are not available. They just want to know if you're 65 or older. They don't want you. I call in, there's one phone number that deals with the health and hospital networks and the clinics. They have to go through a whole big questioning of what you have. Are you eligible? Where do you work? What do you do? Da, 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 da. Then they tell you there's nothing available. They could say there's nothing available and save the time. Do it in reverse order. Tell me, I'm sorry, right now we have nothing available. However, if there is, but I'm sorry, I have to ask you these things first. Well, now we're in business. So pretty much, and I know I don't deal with the FCC out here, and I know I don't really curse that much. I really don't. But if you want to use the perfect word of how this is being handled, how this is gone, this is a clusterfuck. It really is. This really is. I was joking with my doctor a couple of weeks ago in an email. I had to write into him for something. And I said, listen, can't we just make up our own vaccine, sell it on the corner? He says, like an old expression from Prohibition days, people who makes moonshine, bathtub vaccine. He says, I'm all for it. Because, yeah, I don't know what's inside the stuff, but listen, if we get the recipe, I'll make it. I'll get some tin foil, wrap a coil, I'll steam it in the woods somewhere, and then I'll send every doctor a gallon of it. Do you know how many injections are in a 1 gallon, like a gallon of water bottle, a water bottle of gallon size? You know how many injections that is? Do you know? I mean, if all these companies, Moderna, Pfizer, now Johnson and Johnson, and next week it'll be, I guess, Trader Joe or some guy named Dave, I don't know. If you're having trouble getting the product, don't be cheap. Put on an extra shift. That's just what it is. Put on a shift. People need to make their paycheck. People need, if you don't want to give people overtime and let them sit there for extra hours, put on an extra shift. Get the people in there, get the personnel. Open up, I don't know what lab they're using, but I'm sure there's a pretty empty lab somewhere they can also use. Bring your equipment, make extra vaccine, and let's get this over with. I am tired of dealing with websites that are absolutely useless, which is why I call into customer service or the people on the phone who spend half their time apologizing to me, which is why years ago, I think I told this story years and years ago, and people ask me, well, do you have any biases? I said, listen, well, I don't have to hate anybody of color or religion. I could say it for the customer service industry and tech support. If these people should not all, I don't know, I'm sorry for them, but someone is training them to tell everybody how sorry they are every 2 seconds because they're not able to get the job done. It's not their fault, and I'm really sorry for them. It's not their fault. It's whoever's putting them to work has given them a bad system of operation. Years ago, before Facebook, before anything in social media the way you know it now, there was MySpace. I had an account on MySpace. And like anything else, you set up your account, you did what you had to do. And on your right side of the screen, there was a little blog area. You get to tell everybody about your day or whine about your life for a couple of paragraphs. Like everybody else, tell everybody if someone had a baby or someone died. Anyway, I typed up one day a little exaggeration of customer service and tech support. And I pretty much said, it's like someone picked up the phone and said, hi, how may we help you today? Hi, my name is Frank. Da, 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 da. This is what I want to do. Can I have your address? So I gave him like a fake address, 1313 Mockingbird Lane. Where's your social security number? It's all like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Your telephone number. I created something, and they kept going. So I typed in coffee and milk and sugar, bacon and eggs, and how many things can you verify before this is me? Anyway, after all this verification, the question is, how may we help you today? Well, I'd like to know if you can do this, this, and this for me. Sorry, sir. I wish I could help you, sir. We cannot do that, sir. Okay, then, since we're here, can we do this and this other thing? Sorry, sir. Can't do it, sir. I wish we could help, sir. And after going through a whole list of requests where they're all pretty much trained to say no with a smile, the question is, have we addressed all your concerns today? And then if you're not getting that, when they do troubleshooting for an hour, they transfer you to tech support, because really the people on the phone, they don't know what they're doing. The first people you speak to, they're just there to take your money if you want to pay a bill. Then you're on hold in the queue. It's called a queue, Q-U-E-U-E, queue. And they put you into tech support after another hour of holding. Who starts in, hello, may I have your name, sir? And this goes on and on and on, which is why no one should ever let me near tech support, because through no fault of their own, I will wind up eating Rolaids with Tums through the whole duration, and I will become livid. Anyway, back to the MySpace thing. I just hit enter and I put the post up on my page. And a day or two later, I'm in my office. I wrote this at home. A day or two later in my office, somebody from Dell calls me up. I was getting my computers from Dell. And they had seen it. And I guess they looked up my name. I don't know how they figured to do this, but someone called me from Dell. And they wound up sending me a printer. I wound up getting a printer out of this. Yeah. Jade's shaking her head. You can't see it, but she's shaking her head. She can't believe I did that. I always remember something my father said to me years ago in Las Vegas of playing blackjack. And he was fooling around with, if you want to win, you got to whine. Now, I don't mean whining like this, but if you want to win, you got to whine. So all I did was really vent for a few paragraphs on a social media site. Someone saw it, and through Dell, I got a free printer. They wanted to make something up to me. And of all the companies I talked to that I ever bought anything from, I had no problems with Dell. Want to have problems? Call up the cable company. See what happens there. So anyway, that is the story. There's your moral of the story, the lesson of the day. You want to win, you got to whine. And that is the story for the week. I hope I did okay with the recording. I hope I don't sound any better or worse. I hope I sound the same as I always do. Please leave a little feedback, upfrontfrank@gmail.com, upfrontfrank@gmail.com. And tell Jade what you think, tell everybody at the station what you think. There's a whole staff of people waiting to hear from you. Skies Crescent Radio, SKYES, Crescent Radio @gmail.com. And that is the story. Wow, I took a few minutes extra. Oh, well, I'll just take 10 out of petty cash. That's the story. Everybody, have a good night. Read any Dr. Seuss book that's available, because it really was good stuff. And kids need good stuff. Read to your kids. And then when they get old enough, let them read to you a little bit, because they need to practice. Okay, everybody, have a good night. I will see you next week. See ya.